So, the seed for my talk today was a conversation with a friend, and she mentioned that she had just finished listening to a book called 1177 BC, The Year Civilization Collapsed by an archaeologist by the name of Eric Klein. So the title again, 1177 BC, The Year Civilization Collapsed. And it caught my attention because I think about collapse as being the end. But it wasn't the end because here we are. Clearly, this is civilization. So I started thinking about endings that aren't really endings or beginnings that are disguised as endings. And basically, the idea that in order for something else to begin, something else has to end. It's a bit of a riddle, and I love things like that. The image that was on the screen before I started speaking during the intro music was an Ouroboros, and that's an ancient symbol of a snake eating its own tail. And it's a symbol of the endless cycle of creation and destruction. This cycle has been happening forever, and it will continue to happen forever. It's about the most macro view of impermanence that you can get. And the book is about the end of the Bronze Age. It was followed by the Iron Age, which was full of progress, growth, and innovation. And the Bronze Age had to end in order for the Iron Age to begin. But it's not like it happened all at once. Like there was a series of events that ended in the collapse. And in between, there was a period of darkness. So it didn't just all happen at once. This was it's a cycle. Again, it's not a one moment in time. The author offers the thesis that the collapse of the Bronze Age shared many similarities to the time that we're in now. So the good news is progress, growth, and innovation are coming. But there's bad news too. We really have no idea how long this decline will take, what it looks like, and there's going to be dark times before something new is born. And the thing is, we can't get out of it. We cannot circumvent it. It's not like a traffic circle where you can get off on a particular exit. You have to go all the way around. We can't go back either. The cycle of creation and destruction is inescapable. It's a natural rhythm. It's like the expansion of an inhale and the contraction of an exhale. And the thing is too, you wouldn't want to breathe shallowly. If you want a full inhale, a full expansion, you have to do the full exhale, the full contraction. Both are necessary. They are interdependent. You cannot have one without the other. So in his last few talks, Joe put a name to the underlying emotion, at least for me, grief. I've come to realize that I was masking my grief with either outrage or numbing it with any number of the tools we have available to us. My drug of choice seems to be social media these days. But naming it has brought it to the forefront for me. So when I experience grief, I feel it in my heart. And I personally, and I think Joe talked about this too, feel like it connects us to each other when we allow it. As Joe says, this is a universal thing. Who hasn't lost something? For me, grief lives in my heart and it's deeply connected to love. And I think that grief is an appropriate response to the tremendous suffering that we're experiencing, whether we ourselves are suffering or whether we're witness to the suffering of others. And this is both the personal suffering. I'm sure each of us has something or knows someone who is going through something, And then, of course, in our society, in the United States, in the whole entire world, there's no, you don't have to look far to find it. So when I witness the suffering of others or experience it myself, I have this almost like knee jerk response and I want to make it better, quickly, like make it go away. The vision I have is like the helicopter mom that I am sometimes. I want to run in with a Band-Aid and a popsicle and just make it better, fix and distract. So there is a trap here, at least for me. I can't let that wish to soothe allow me to cling to what is or what was. There is definitely a wish. I remember during COVID, people would say, well, I just want to go back to how it used to be. And at that time, I would think, there's no, it's gone. We can't go back. But I do catch myself now wanting to go back to what it used to be, and was it good? I mean, it seemed like it, but I also think not maybe, I'm talking about the cycle of creation and destruction. Something has to be destroyed in order for something new to come in. So I have to resist that compulsion to shut it all down and become clingy and resistant to change. And what occurred to me was that instead of trying to mitigate the pain, maybe what I need to do is let it motivate me. So, what can I do to make sure that the suffering is not in vain? Because if I want anything, it's to not prolong the suffering, and clinging, resisting would only prolong it. So, what can I do to make sure that every injustice, every wrongful death, every grab for power, every family torn apart, every support taken from the most vulnerable propels us closer to evolving out of the current paradigm and towards progress, growth, and innovation, the next iteration of civilization? What can I do? And this brings a whole onslaught of questions. Can I keep it together enough to allow the uncertainty and the chaos to unfold? Can I allow the darkness to descend? How do I balance allowing with action? Where are the places I will find my ground and stand firm? And if I sound calm, I have to assure you that I am often not at all calm. I am most of the time swinging wildly from panic to overwhelm and shut down. It's tricky to manage my nervous system. All of the responses: fight, flight, freeze, and appease. I've been doing a lot of thinking about my own moral compass too, and what my line is and how I'll hold it. I think it's important to make these decisions ahead of time so that when something happens, I'll be ready and I won't run or freeze. I think, Joe, we can go ahead if you can put up the image of the saints for me. Thank you. So often when I'm getting ready for one of these talks, I go to my Divine Feminine card deck for some wisdom and guidance. And I found these three, often too, when I'm full of questions, like I just shared with you, I have to remember that there is a greater wisdom than my little monkey mind. So I pulled these three cards from the deck. And there was one in particular that I wanted to pull. So I shuffled them and I pulled just from the top, I pulled a card and it was Joan of Arc. This was not the card I wanted to pull. But, and I kind of wanted to discard it. I kind of wanted to assert my will over the cards. But I stopped myself because I realized this is a wisdom greater than me. So, Joan of Arc, the warrior of light. Her energy is one of fierce, unbending, unyielding strength. Her moral compass is sound, and she does not question it. She's completely unmotivated by ego. Her conviction comes from someplace greater than herself, and she trusts it absolutely. Can you feel why she would be important and helpful during a time like this? When I talk about her and when I tune into that energy, I can actually feel her in the center of my chest and my solar plexus. And I looked up solar plexus chakra, and it happens to be associated with personal power. So I thought that was interesting. Joan of Arc, when she was only 13, and based on the courage of her conviction alone, did something that no one else had done before. She led an army that changed the course of history for France. Astonishing. A 13-year-old. And this is documented. There's sworn testimony from her trial. So it's not like a myth. This is actual real life. This actually happened. She embodies the phrase, I was born for this. Can we draw upon her power? The second card I pulled, as you may guess, was Mary of Nazareth. Now, this was the card that I wanted. So I think it's very interesting that she was underneath Joan of Arc, because if I had pulled Mary first, I would have never found Joan. So everything happens for a reason. When I think of Mother Mary, I think of courage and I think of surrender. Also, just simply the word yes. Yes to all of it, the beautiful and the terrible. Birthing a new paradigm is going to require walking through incredible, unimaginable pain. We already are. It really started back in COVID times, and maybe before that. But think about how difficult that was and how it is now. We can draw on the steadfast presence of Mother Mary, who never faltered. Even when her only son, Yeshua, was on the cross, she stayed as a witness. That is the unyielding power of a mother's love. Gentle and persistent and never looking away. Do we have the courage to do the same? Mary shows us the way by pointing to her Sacred Heart. Her Sacred Heart is big enough for all of this. And the third one is Rita of Cascia. She kept popping up while I was shuffling. I saw her face 3 or 4 times, and so I decided to search her out because I thought she must have something to tell me. I wondered what the wisdom was that she had to share. She is the patroness of impossible causes. And I don't know about you guys, but I think things feel pretty impossible right now. Everything is overwhelming and it's very tempting to shut down. As I mentioned, I'm constantly managing my desire to run or collapse or talk trash, which would be the fight response. So Rita picks us up off of the floor when we're collapsed in despair. She shows us that nothing is truly impossible. And just because we don't see a path forward doesn't mean there isn't one. She reminds us that prayer is mysterious and miraculous, and that we too can create powerful channels of possibility. We don't have to know how it works. We just have to trust that it does. I came across a quote from the Bhagavad Gita And it was the intention behind action is what matters. And so I think this is what St. Rita teaches us, that we hold the intention for the world that we want to see. And that's powerful, more powerful than we can imagine. We can use her example as something to follow and trust, that our prayers, our intentions can lead us to what is coming. Okay, Joe, you can take that down. Thank you. So it also came to me really, I'm not thinking this stuff up. This stuff is coming to me while I'm getting ready for this talk. So what came to me was that it's no accident that we're all here right now. And by here, I mean here in this group together and here on this earth at this particular time. I think we each have an important role to play in the evolution, even the doubters and the skeptics. So the obvious question is, well, what's my role? And Thomas Merton has the answer. What we have to be is what we are. And now sometimes I'm not satisfied with this answer. It is such a riddle. Okay, what does that mean? Thanks, Thomas. Be more clear. But I think that's a question we have to just ask ourselves. What am I? What am I here for? It's that divine spark that is unique to each of us. There is not a single other person in this world, just like anyone here in this space. So I'll conclude with a quote from historian and author Isabel Wilkerson. This is an excerpt from her commencement speak at Wellesley just a few days ago. She talked about trying to decide what to say to students who started college during a pandemic and are ending and graduating now during this upheaval. And she said that she decided to turn to humanities instruction manual, which is history, and to humanities teachers, which are the ancestors, for guidance and solace. And this is just part of what she said. Why did all that we're seeing have to happen on our watch? Why now? And why us? I would suggest that there is a reason why the things we are witnessing are happening in our exact time on the planet. Because we are the ones who are made for this moment. We are not in this situation we're facing because we can't handle it. We're in the situation that we're facing precisely because we can. For some reason that only the universe knows, we are exactly where we are supposed to be in the flow of human existence. It will be up to us to figure out what we each uniquely can bring to this moment when the planet and the species need us most. And so I leave you with all of these questions, especially the one about what can you uniquely bring to this moment.